Hey y'all, it's Melinda, and welcome back to another episode of The Greenhouse. This week has been a bit of a whirlwind. We had a tropical storm roll through, but right in the middle of it, we had a house full of love. My son, who's home on leave from the military, came and stayed with us, along with his wife, in our guest room. Y'all, having a fully finished house, a guest room ready for guests, that is such an anomaly for me. I spent some time just looking at that room because for almost my entire life, I'm talking from the time I was a child till now at 50 something years old, my house and my home has literally been a construction zone. And it got me thinking, what happens to those of us who spend our entire lives fixing and tending and building the things around us? When those external projects are finally resolved, settled, or finished, what do you do when there's nothing left outside to fix? If you know me, you know this construction life goes all the way back, all the way to my roots. Growing up, my dad, he was a master of everything. There wasn't anything he couldn't build, nothing he couldn't fix. There wasn't anything he didn't know. Some of that's pride because I'm a mama's or daddy's boy through and through, but some of that just is the way that it was. I don't think we ever lived in a house that he didn't add a room onto, tear down, or completely renovate another part of it. Sawdust and home improvement projects, those were the backdrop of my childhood. So when Jimmy and I got married years ago, for me, it was completely normal that our life continue that same groove. As a matter of fact, when we bought our very first home, it was an old mill-style home, maybe 900 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, the laundry room crammed right into the eat-in kitchen. And that house, it needed everything. And I'll never forget being 6 months pregnant with Nicholas, standing up on scaffolding, hanging vinyl siding on the exterior of that house. Most pregnant women, they're picking out nursery room paint, and there I am balancing on a wooden plank, trying to make sure that our outer walls were secure before he came home. And you see, it wasn't just me. Jimmy didn't grow up doing home renovations. So his very first hardware store trip was with my dad. My dad took him to Home Depot for the first time. He'd never been into a hardware store before. And I still remember when we decided to move the washer and dryer out of the kitchen in that small house onto a covered patio we'd built to just give us a sliver of breathing room in that house. Jimmy was terrified. I mean, white knuckle, scared to death of touching that electrical wiring and moving it. He stood there next to my dad, holding that multimeter with wide eyes, confirming 3 times over and over that the power was really dead before he touched that 220-volt wire. He was so timid and so cautious. And the irony, well, it's not lost on me because 30 years later, he owns and operates a heating and air conditioning business dealing with high voltage electricity and plumbing every single day. Never would I have imagined that after watching him in the kitchen of that old home. That moment was the start of him cultivating a new life because sometimes that exact wire that you're scared to death to touch is the very line that powers your next season. For more than 3 decades, our life has been a cycle of sawdust and rotted floor joists under the dirt, fresh paint, and to-do lists. We'd finish a house, we'd sell it, and we'd move on to the next and start all over again. Tending to the physical space around us was how we operated. It was what we knew. It's how we lived. But a couple of years ago, when the kids were grown and moved up and moved into their own chapters, we did one final renovation. And that, well, is almost mostly complete now. We don't have any more house to tear down. I ran out of physical construction zones. And I remember sitting in the quiet, realizing that I don't have another room to tear down. There's nothing to distract myself with anymore. And when you've run out of external things to fix, you really then have nothing left to focus on. You're forced to look in the mirror. And doing so, I realized that, well, now I'm the construction zone. All that energy I used to pour into drywall, to trim work, making things pretty on the outside, well, it had nowhere to go. So I turned it inward. I started giving myself some long overdue nourishment. I looked at my health, my blood pressure, my heart, my physical energy, and started tending to my body the way I had tended to our homes over 30 years. And let me tell you, if you thought those houses had some dirt, some debris, needed some heavy cleaning and some support, that doesn't even touch what needed to happen to me and to my body. I had spent years pouring into everyone and everything else, leaving myself with just the leftovers. I had to start cutting back the things, including the habits and obligations that were draining my tank, so I could build something strong and sustainable on the inside. That shift is what brought me my 5 pillars: nourishment, roots, seasonality, cultivation, and pruning. So today I want to ask you the same question. Are you keeping yourself busy, fixing everything around you, your job, your home, your family, just to avoid sitting in the quiet with yourself? What is your 220-volt wire right now? What's the boundary or the change that you're terrified to touch, but know that you need to deal with? If the outside world stopped needing your repair tomorrow, what inside of you would finally get your care? You don't need the outside world to validate your progress, but when the noise stops, that's when your real journey begins. Thank you all so much for being here through all the first 13 the first 13 episodes of The Greenhouse. If this has spoken to you, take a screenshot, share it on your stories. Tell others to take a listen. Join our community at maintainingmelinda.com/greenhouse. And until next time, keep tending to your own garden, and I'll be right here waiting for you in the greenhouse. Thanks, everybody.